The air in the Apocalypse manufacturing garage in Fort Lauderdale smells like welding flux, high-octane fuel, and hubris. It is 9 a.m., and Jerry Jr. Gaddis is pacing the concrete floor, yelling into his cell phone about social media algorithms. He doesn't notice the shadow that falls across the bay door. It is a shadow that moves unlike a cloud, it moves like a building. It is a shadow that blocks out the Florida sun entirely. Junior hangs up mid-sentence. He turns around, and standing right there, wide enough to fill the entire roll-up door, wearing a suit that looks like it was woven by gods, is Shaquille O'Neal. No cameras. No agents. Just the diesel. For a year, Jerry Jr. has been sending emails, leaving voicemails, and begging the universe for this moment. But now that it is here, the shop is silent except for the ticking of a cooling engine. Shaq looks down at the tiny, frantic marketing guru, cracks a smile that could power a small city, and says 4 words that will trigger a Dynasty-sized meltdown: I need a truck. This is Truck Dynasty. We are not talking about your father's F-150. We are talking about the multi-billion-dollar insanity of custom off-road vehicles, where the only limit is your bank account and your tolerance for absurdity. At the center of this universe is Apocalypse Manufacturing, a family-run empire in Florida where the builds are as loud as the personalities. You have Joe Gaddis, the engineering genius who builds mechanical monsters. You have Ashley, his wife, trying to keep the New Jersey Mafia-style family from killing each other. And you have the sales team, Pop, Jerry Sr., an old-school shark, Frank, the mustachioed wild card, and Jerry Jr., the hype man who lives and breathes chaos. Usually, they build 6x6 Hellfires and juggernauts for oil magnates and NFL rookies. But today? Today is different. Shaquille O'Neal didn't come here for a lifted pickup. He came here to solve a problem that has haunted him since he was a rookie: nothing fits. A normal Ram 1500 TRX is a beast of a machine, a 702 horsepower off-road missile. But to Shaq, standing 7 feet 1 inch and weighing well over 300 pounds, a stock TRX feels like a clown car. He doesn't just need legroom. He needs a throne. He needs Kevlar armor and a Starlight headliner. He needs a truck that looks like a tank, drives like a sports car, and fits his frame like a tailored suit. It is a challenge that would make lesser engineers weep. But for Joe Gaddis, it is the ultimate puzzle. However, while Joe is looking at blueprints and suspension geometry, Jerry Jr. is looking at the prize. He sees the influencer goldmine. He sees the Super Bowl commercials. Jerry Jr. wants to control the build, and that is where the tension ignites. Because in the world of custom fabrication, there is a fine line between building a truck for a legend and letting a legend's hype man destroy your deadline. As the team scrambles to measure Shaq's footprint, the scene cuts briefly to a different garage, 50 miles away, hidden behind the sterile, government-issued gates of the Miami Beach Fire Department. The noise here is different. No heavy metal music. No yelling. Just the methodical click of hydraulic lifts and the squeak of latex gloves. Fire Chief Digna Abello runs her hand along the side of a massive, matte green military vehicle. It looks like a mutated Humvee, all sharp angles and ground clearance that seems physically impossible. This is the High Water Rescue Truck, a refurbished light-medium tactical vehicle, LMTV, repurposed for the apocalypse of a different sort: the hurricane. The hint of the episode's true theme is subtle but heavy. While Shaq wants a truck to look invincible in a car show, the firefighters want a truck to be invincible in 4 feet of storm surge. The LMTV is not pretty. It has no starlight ceiling. It has number 850 horsepower supercharged per. It smells like diesel and rubber and fear. But it can carry 15 terrified people out of a flooded neighborhood. It can ford water deep enough to drown a school bus. As the mechanic checks the differentials, we see a weather map on the wall behind him. A red swirl is spinning in the Atlantic. It is nameless for now, but it has a trajectory. It is a hint of the chaos to come. Back at Apocalypse, the hints are more extroverted. Joe Gaddis takes the measuring tape to the Ram's cabin. "There's no way," he mutters. "The steering column is in the way, the seat rails max out at 6 feet 5 inches. Joe realizes he cannot just modify the truck, he has to rebuild the entire DNA of the interior. He decides to rip out the firewall. He decides to move the dashboard 6 inches forward. It is spinal surgery on a machine that costs as much as a house. Junior is filming the whole thing for Instagram, screaming, "We making room for Shaq, baby." But Joe is looking at the welds. He is looking at the armor. He knows that moving the cab geometry changes the center of gravity. If they get this wrong, Shaq's super truck won't be a monster, it will be a death trap. The hints are there, two worlds are building for the end of the world, but only one of them is praying that the end never comes. The tension in Truck Dynasty is not just metal fatigue, it is family fatigue. Shaquille O'Neal has commissioned a juggernaut build, a fully armored, matte black Ram TRX that has been widened to fit his frame. Joe Gadas has ordered custom Dana 60 axles, 40-inch tires, and a suspension system that costs more than a luxury sedan. He is trying to figure out how to dissipate the heat from the upgraded 850 horsepower Hellcat V8 engine. But Jerry Jr. doesn't care about thermodynamics. Jr. cares about the deadline. Shaq wants the truck for a charity event in Atlanta, and Jr. promised it would be ready in 2 weeks. "You don't tell Shaq no." Jr. screams, his face reddening. "This isn't a truck, Joe. This is the Super Bowl ring of trucks." Joe, torch in hand, doesn't look up. "You want me to rush the welding on the Kevlar panels? You want this thing to delaminate at 100 miles an hour?" The tension boils over when Jerry Jr. tries to overrule Joe on the seat selection. Shaq wants deep red leather, but the leather supplier is a 3-week lead time. Jr. suggests vinyl. He suggests something off the shelf. Ashley Gadas, the sister and the glue holding the Dynasty together, steps between them. "We are not putting cheap vinyl in Shaquille O'Neal's truck. Do you want him to tweet about the cheap vinyl?" The argument is interrupted by the television in the break room. A news anchor is standing in the wind, holding a microphone that is whipping violently. The nameless swirl in the Atlantic now has a name. And it has a category. The screen flashes, Hurricane Ian state of emergency declared. The camera cuts to a live shot of the Miami Beach coast. Waves are eating the sand. Rain is falling sideways. The tension shifts. Suddenly, Shaq's deadline seems trivial. The emotional break happens in 2 places simultaneously, the editing stitching them together like threads of the same rope. In the Apocalypse garage, the team has hit a wall. They have moved the firewall. They have installed the custom track width axles. But Shaq walks in for a fitting, and his knees still brush the dashboard. You see the flash of disappointment in the big man's eyes. For all his money, for all his fame, he still cannot escape the physics of his own body. "It's okay, baby," he says to Ashley, trying to smile. "Just make it safe." But you hear the exhaustion. He is tired of squeezing into life. Then, Joe Gadas has a vision. He looks at Shaq sitting in the cab, and he doesn't look at the engine. He looks at the steering wheel. He calls out, "Cut the column. Put a quick-release hub on it. Move the wheel closer to the windshield. We don't build the seat back. We build the controls forward." It is a moment of genius born of desperation. But the real break happens at the fire department. The high-water truck is being prepped for deployment. The firefighters are loading MREs and bottled water. A young rookie, maybe 22 years old, is standing next to the LMTV. He is looking at his phone. He is looking at a picture of his own apartment, which is already under a mandatory evacuation order. He cannot go home to save his own photo albums. Instead, he has to drive into the water. Chief Abello approaches him. She doesn't give a rousing speech. She just puts a hand on his shoulder. "That truck," she says, pointing to the massive tires, "has one job. To keep you moving forward when the world is trying to wash you away." She pauses. "We clear out the streets so guys like Shaq have somewhere to drive back to." That is the raw truth of the episode. Shaq's super truck is an accessory of the good life, an armored fortress against paparazzi, a rolling sculpture of wealth and power. The high water truck is an instrument of survival. One is built to conquer the mall parking lot, the other is built to conquer the end of the world. And at that moment, the two narratives shake hands. The truth, as revealed in the final act of the episode, is that function always defeats form when the water rises. Shaquille O'Neal, despite his towering presence and his Superman complex, is a surprisingly humble student of engineering. He returns to the shop for the final reveal. The Apocalypse super truck is done. It is breathtaking. The matte Kevlar finish absorbs the light. The 850 horsepower engine growls like a caged animal. The interior, now finally fitting his massive frame, is a cocoon of red leather and Rolls-Royce starlights. It is a masterpiece. Junior is crying tears of joy. Shaq high-fives Joe. It is victory. But then, the show cuts to the flooded streets of Fort Myers. The high-water truck is there, plowing through 3 feet of brown, debris-filled water. It is not glamorous. Water is leaking into the cab. The ride is rough. But the truck keeps moving. The firefighters pull a family out of a collapsing house, a grandmother, a dog, a toddler and a wet onesie. They pile into the bed of the military truck. They are safe. The truth is spoken by Frank, the handlebar mustache salesman, who watches the news coverage later that night. "That's the real Dynasty," Frank says, pointing at the screen. "We bend metal. They save souls." Shaq's super truck is an object of desire. The fire department's high-water vehicle is an object of necessity. One costs millions to make a celebrity comfortable. The other costs thousands to keep a citizen alive. But here is the final, unspoken truth: both trucks share a soul. They are both built on the same American principles of heavy-duty axles, high ground clearance, and brute force engineering. Whether you are driving away from the paparazzi or driving towards a hurricane, you need something that refuses to break. The sun sets over Miami. Shaquille O'Neal climbs into his super truck. He adjusts the custom steering wheel, feels the leather seats that finally support his knees, and fires up the supercharged V8. The sound echoes off the garage walls, a thunderous declaration that the diesel has landed. He rolls down the window and looks at Jerry Jr. "Now," Shaq booms, "let's go get some ice cream." But the camera doesn't linger on the celebrity. It pans left, down the highway, to a low-resolution shot of the high-water rescue team. They are parked at a distribution center, handing out diapers and bottled water. The LMTV is covered in mud. The driver is asleep in the seat, his helmet resting on the dashboard. Chief Abello closes the door of the high-water truck softly, so as not to wake him. She looks at the horizon, where the storm clouds are finally breaking apart. Truck Dynasty flashes on the screen, but the subtitle isn't about horsepower or torque. It's about the people inside. One truck is a dream. The other is a shield. But on the roads of Florida, when the sirens go silent and the floodwaters rise, they are both part of the same dynasty, the dynasty of the unstoppable machine. And that is the legend of the build.